Coming up, Year Abreu is a very real Rookie of the Year candidate. And as we look back on this past weekend's Pro Football Hall of Fame enshrinement, which Patriot has been snubbed for too long? I've got the answer there. And what the hell happened to Netflix? Seriously. And who are the best actors to be in just shitty movies? All that and more on The Cam Show, powered by Rogue Media Sports Network. Music. Play the music. Welcome to you. Happy Monday, Cam Show, brought to you by Rogue Media Sports Network. I'm Cam Stewart. Braden Murray joining us later on in the show. And I think it's let me say that again. I think it's time to start telling your kids about the Year Abreu Rookie of the Year campaign. It is real, and it is so on after this weekend in Texas, where the Red Sox, golly, it's Monday, where the Red Sox take 2 out of 3 from the Rangers on the road. Big series victory as they head up to Kansas City in what is going to be the bloodbath of the summer in a midweek August series against the Royals, just how we always planned it. But Year Abreu went off. 3 homers in the series. Indoor Year Abreu might be the best player in the league and has an emotional game on Sunday. The 2 homers. You saw him going out, trotting out to right field with the tears in his eyes afterwards. His grandmother had just died. He found out before the game, and he goes and has himself a day. But really, this has been going on for a while now. Year Abreu's had a steady season throughout the whole year, but the last week or two, he has had much better at-bats. In fact, I'm going to pull one as a baseball sicko. I'm going to pull one out of the hat in a game that I was at last week against the Mariners last Monday, and they were getting dicked through the first couple innings against Gilbert. Logan Gilbert was having a tremendous start, and Year Abreu looked silly in his first at-bat. He struck out. He comes up the second time right after Jarren Duran beats out what would have been an inning-ending double play. So now he's got a couple runners in scoring position with 2 outs in the inning, and goes down 0-2 like that. Couple of splitters, looks silly. And what he does after that is works it to a full count, an 11-pitch at-bat, and singles to right field to drive in 2 runs. It starts a 7-run inning. The Red Sox run away with the game. Year Abreu did that. Year Abreu started that with a great at-bat. And now you look at the numbers, and he is absolutely right up there for the Rookie of the Year consideration. At first, we thought it was Ceddanne Rafaela, who is still having a pretty good year for a rookie and is still up there at the top of a lot of those leaderboards. But it's Year Abreu who is making his name. He leads all rookies in OPS at 856, in WAR, which is 2.5, doubles at 30, and he's third among rookies in RBI. That tells me he's one of the best first-year hitters out there. In fact, the projections have him to be at 18 homers, 62 RBI, and 35 doubles on the season. That's a damn good season for a rookie without an Aaron Judge going on somewhere like he did in 2017. Right now, 275, 12 homers, 42 RBI at a guy who was in the bottom third of the order for a good part of the year and now is protecting a guy like Rafi Devers. That's pretty solid, man. The strikeout numbers need to go down. I mean, they can't go down, but they need to get better. But overall, he is having himself a year. And when you're thinking of these Rookie of the Year guys, you're thinking of Abreu, a little bit of Ceddanne Rafaela. You're thinking pitchers a lot with Miller and Heel. But the only other one that I think you can compare him to, because he's ahead of Wyatt Langford, by the way. He is well ahead of Wyatt Langford. The only one that comes close to me as a position player is Colton Cowser. And when you look at the baseball reference back-to-back here, Colton Cowser leads in about half the categories. But you'll notice they're the counting stats, because Cowser has played 21 more games this year than Year Abreu has. So he has the upper hand in games, plate appearances, hits, homers, RBI, and tied at stolen bases. But when you take a deeper look, you'll notice that all the percentage stats go to Year Abreu. He's got a better WAR, by the way, on a team that isn't as good as Baltimore, and has a better batting average, better OBP, better slugging, better OPS, better OPS plus. In fact, that OPS plus is the best among rookies at 131. Damn, that's good. And in 21 more games, if we're just looking at the counting stats here, in 21 more games, Colton Cowser has just 7 more RBI than Wilyer Abreu in a much stronger lineup. He has just 4 more homers, just 9 more hits in 21 games. That, to me, the value and the percentage numbers are heavily in favor of Wilyer Abreu. And I know Rookie of the Year isn't a value award as much, but Wilyer Abreu is certainly more important to his team this year than Colton Cowser has been to his team. Because it goes to show that Abreu's playing a bigger role in a team that isn't quite as good, but is still in the playoff picture. It's been a great, great stretch for Wilyer Abreu. By the way, Heim. Credit Heim. Credit Heim where credit is due. And Wilyer Abreu is credit to Heim. In 2022, he identified the Red Sox were not a playoff team when it split the fan base and probably some people within the organization. He knew they were going to play so many games against their division and they couldn't beat their division. They were not making the playoffs. So what he did was traded a clubhouse favorite in Christian Vasquez to the Astros for a bit of a long shot prospect, a 21-year-old who had not made the majors yet, in Wilyer Abreu. And people were pissed. They were like, where is this coming from? There was a couple, and Manuel Valdez was there as well. But you gave up Vasquez, and you gave him up for what? You gave him up for potentially a future Rookie of the Year and a guy who's going to be a stalwart in this lineup. At worst, a good trade chip for a top-line starter in the winter. At worst. And the Red Sox could do with that because they have got some great prospects coming down the pipeline here in the next 1 to 2 years after 2024. But Wilyer Abreu certainly making Chaim Bloom look pretty good after that weekend. By the way, got David Hamilton as well, who had a pretty good weekend. Things are shaking out pretty well for the Red Sox, young players in their farm system, and we have Chaim Bloom to thank for that. And by the way, I think what is the biggest show or mark of Wilyer Abreu's success and how it relates to this team is he had a pretty good end to 2023, and they had enough confidence in him that they said, you know what, that's our everyday corner outfielder. We don't need Alex Verdugo. We're not going to re-sign him, so let's at least get something for him now because we've got a better version of Alex Verdugo. And they have a better version of Alex Verdugo in Wilyer Abreu. That is without question. You look at their head-to-head. He's got over 2 wins better than Alex Verdugo in WAR for a team that is below the Yankees in the standings. And again, counting stats, some of them anyway, are advantage Verdugo. Games, plate appearances, hits. He's played 24 more games than Abreu and only has 7 more RBI. Abreu has a better WAR. He has more homers in 24 less games than Alex Verdugo, playing at Yankee Stadium as a left-handed hitter, and has more stolen bases, a better batting average, a better OBP, a better slugging, a better OPS, and a much better OPS plus. Alex Verdugo's OPS plus is 84. Wilyer Abreu's is 131. Wilyer Abreu is 31% better than the league average hitter, and Alex Verdugo is 16% worse than the league average hitter. So I know that doesn't have much to do with the Rookie of the Year race, but if you want to talk about a guy that you are going to have in your lineup for a long time, look at the one that was traded for Mookie Betts, and then look at the one who was traded for Christian Vasquez. Oh, man. Who knows? Maybe even the Astros will regret getting rid of him. They've done pretty well with their prospects, but it just goes to show that this isn't even close in terms of who you would rather have in your lineup, Wilyer Abreu or Alex Verdugo. And who would you rather have in your lineup, Wilyer Abreu or Colton Cowser? That's also advantage Wilyer Abreu. So, look, it might go to heel. He's been pretty good in the starts I've seen him have against the Red Sox. And Mason Miller's a great story. It's tough to give it to a closer, but it's been done before. It's been given to an Oakland closer before. Current Red Sox pitching coach Andrew Bailey in 2009. But at the worst, he is going to finish top 3 in the Rookie of the Year voting. And you've got a guy on the cheap who is still young. I mean, he's not 20, he's 24. But you've got a guy in your lineup for years to come. Like, if he becomes a Trot Nixon, that's a heck of a pickup for a Christian Vasquez. Worked out for Houston. They won the World Series that year. But Abreu is going to be a steady force in this lineup. Now, again, there's still things to work on. Got to cut that strikeouts down. They still don't trust him a lot against lefties. In fact, I think it's like 50 at-bats against lefties this year. But the fact that you had a promising veteran guy in Alex Verdugo and said, you know what? I think Wilyer Abreu is better. We're going to take him. That says a lot about Abreu. Maybe more about Verdugo. Or the fact that you thought you had the Rookie of the Year up until like last month in Cedar Rafaela, and now think you have the Rookie of the Year again. That says a lot about Wilyer Abreu. I was hard on him to begin the season, and I get a hard on watching him now. Are we allowed to say that? Anyway, Wilyer Abreu for Rookie of the Year, it really could happen. And if the Red Sox push for the playoffs, like they should in the next month and a half, then Wilyer Abreu will be a big reason why. And his hot hitting right now is already a big reason why they are still within striking distance of these playoff spots. And I know value doesn't factor into this a lot, but he will be the most valuable rookie in my eyes throughout this year. Him and Heel. So, Wilyer Abreu, shout out to you. Next, we're going to talk about what Patriot needs to be in the Pro Football Hall of Fame. It's criminal that he hasn't already. That and more on The Cam Show, brought to you by Rogue Media Sports Network. Back here on The Cam Show, Rogue Media Sports Network, Cam Stewart with you. And it was a big weekend for the Pro Football Hall of Fame. A new class in Canton. And, Andre Johnson, Devin Hester, some guys from my childhood, Julius Peppers, the former basketball player at Carolina, Patrick Willis, terrific player, and an emotional one for Steve McMichael, the great Texas Longhorn, battling ALS, gets his due, obviously one of the big parts of the 84 Bears getting inducted in the Hall of Fame. And look, that's great. I'm not saying any of these guys don't deserve to be in the Hall of Fame. I even like that Devin Hester's in the Hall of Fame, even though he's a specialist. He was the most specialist there was. He was great. He was a genuine weapon on the field without playing offense or defense. And I don't want to take anything away from these guys that went in, but it's wild to me that Rodney Harrison has had 11 shots at this and has not gotten in the Hall of Fame yet. To me, that is just criminal. And I know I'm coming from the standpoint of a Patriots fan who got to see, Rodney Harrison performing at the highest level and winning championships at the end of his career. But if you look at the full body of work of Rodney Harrison, there's really no excuse for him to not be in the Hall of Fame. He's already been inducted into the Patriots and the Chargers Hall of Fame. And Pro Football One, this is the first time he was a finalist this year. As he was a semifinalist for 3 straight years and 11th year on the ballot. And still he has not been voted in. It doesn't make sense to me. I mean, you want to talk about a guy who had a long career, almost a 20-year career that he had playing defensive back in the NFL, and the numbers are incredible. 1,200 tackles, 34 picks, 30.5 sacks, 15 forced fumbles, 9 fumble recoveries, and 3 defensive touchdowns just in the regular season. By the way, he's one of only 2 players ever to have 30 career sacks and 30 career picks. 2 players in the history of the league have done that. The other was Ray Lewis, first ballot Hall of Famer. Without doubt. And still we wait on Rodney Harrison. And for those of you who did watch, Rodney Harrison with the Patriots or NFL football in the early 2000s, you'll know that Rodney was even better in the postseason. And there's something to be said for that in any sport. The guys who have Hall of Fame numbers or close to Hall of Fame numbers anyway, and then take it up a notch in the postseason, guys who are foundational pieces to dynasties, who are some of the best defensive players in the postseason in their era, that needs to be weighted too. And how about this? 13 playoff games, 75 tackles, 7 picks, 2 sacks, 2 forced fumbles. 7 picks as a safety in 13 playoff games. That was a problem, is he didn't get to play in a lot of playoff games before he got to the Patriots. Went to the Super Bowl with the Chargers. It was like his rookie year. They got laughed out of the building by Steve Young. And he might not have even played in one again until 2003, his first year with the Patriots, and then is a linchpin for some of the best defenses that we've seen in the last quarter century. Those 2003-2004 Patriots that won at one point 21 straight games, a suffocating defense. A defense that absolutely, Rodney Harrison included, had a big hand in changing the rules that we know today. It's kind of a weird context of, like, the league was starting to become a pass-first league for the first time, and we're starting to usher in these new rules that make it so, but we're not all the way there yet, and the Patriots took advantage of that big time. Rodney Harrison, Willie McGinnis, Teddy Bruschi, Ty Law, even the young Asante Samuel, these guys were physical in coverage, and no one was more physical or more feared than Rodney Harrison. You did not go across the middle in Rodney Harrison. Some would say he was dirty. He would say he was aggressive. He was intense. He was physical. And what stood out about that era and him playing with those Patriots is he came in after Lawyer Malloy was cut, or as Lawyer Malloy was cut. This is a guy who was a captain, a fan favorite, a team favorite, Tom Brady's best friend on the team. And this veteran, who everyone else hated for years, comes in and becomes the strong safety. Lawyer Malloy cut, and suddenly Rodney Harrison is a captain because his teammates revered him that much. So you talk about a guy who was a foundational piece to one of the best defenses in this era. That alone gives you a Hall of Fame case. His numbers and his longevity and his success back up his Hall of Fame case. And I found this tweet from a few months ago that was very, very interesting to me. It's from Scott Pioli, who was the director of player personnel with the Patriots for years, one of Bill Belichick's right-hand guys. And he said, as pro director, I evaluated Rodney Harrison for 9 seasons when he was with the Chargers. His film and knowing him told me why we wanted to sign him in 2003, and the film and these numbers remind me why he should be in the Hall of Fame. We should have signed him earlier. And he puts up his numbers, Rodney Harrison's career numbers, against 2 safeties that are in the Hall of Fame, John Lynch and Darren Woodson. Let me start by saying this. I don't love arguments for the Hall of Fame that say, oh, well, this guy was worse, and he's in. They only go so far for me. But when you're taking 2 guys who played the same position in the same era, that holds a lot of weight to me. So here he goes. He didn't play as many games as John Lynch in his career, but did have more picks than both those guys. And by the way, Darren Woodson was known as a great coverage guy. 34 picks in his career, 26 for John Lynch, 23 for Darren Woodson. Interceptions returned for touchdowns. Rodney Harrison has a couple. John Lynch doesn't have any. How about sacks? Talk about a versatile safety or defensive back that can get in the backfield. John Lynch had 13. Darren Woodson had 11. Rodney Harrison had 30 and a half. The most sacks all time by a defensive back, by the way. Solo tackles, last line of defense, that's a pretty big thing for safeties. Darren Woodson, 639. John Lynch, 727. Rodney Harrison, 920. Has almost 200 more than John Lynch, who was the other guy with that reputation, right? Hard-hitting safety. Hell of a player. Well-deserved Hall of Famer. Rodney Harrison's got 200 more tackles. Championships. Darren Woodson's got the upper hand. They all have one. Darren Woodson has 3. Rodney has 2. And here's where it gets interesting. The Pro Bowls. All those numbers I just gave you. Rodney Harrison only had 2. Darren Woodson had 5. John Lynch had 9. How much do you think that had to do with likability? Again, players in the league hated Rodney because he would talk shit to you and then he would lay you out. In fact, my favorite Rodney Harrison clip is doing pregame warm-ups. I think it's actually in New York against the Jets. He was with the Chargers. And they're giving him all kinds of shit. Oh, this guy's going to own you, whether it was, Wayne Corbett or whomever. And he goes, "What did you say to me?" And they say it again. And he points up and he goes, "I'm going to knock him right in his mouth. You write it down." Because that's who he was. He was intense and he backed that shit up. And so when the players don't like you, that doesn't help your Pro Bowl chances. And it's evidenced by the next thing, which is all pros. Okay? Because Rodney Harrison only made 2 Pro Bowls. And yet he made 3 all-pro teams. Do the math on that one. Because all-pro is much more impressive than making the Pro Bowl. So how is it that he only makes 2 Pro Bowls but 3 all-pros? That tells me that there's a reputation problem in the way. Not what he does on the field and not his leadership qualities in the locker room, but rather what other players think about him. Because he has just as many all-pros as Darren Woodson, and John Lynch has 1 more. So once we take out the reputation stuff, Harrison is beating these guys in every meaningful category for a defender. So why is he not in the Hall of Fame? Is there still some animosity from other players? Because we got to put that aside, man. Rodney Harrison is, at worst, a top 3 safety of his generation. And when you look at the numbers, you could argue he was the best. We're talking before Ed Reed's real prime, before Troy Polamalu. Rodney Harrison was the guy with Woodson and Lynch. And both those guys are in the Hall of Fame. So why are we holding out on Rodney? Am I biased? Maybe. He's one of my favorite Patriots of all time. But you could make a case that guys like Rodney Harrison were the reason that the Patriots weren't a one-year fluke in 2001 and why they became a dynasty. Rodney came in, straightened some people out, and led one of the great defenses of all time. He and Willie McGinnis and Teddy Bruschi and Mike Vrabel and Ty Law and Vince Wilfork. Rodney was at the center of that and should get his due. By the way, there's some others of those Patriots guys that should be in the Hall of Fame. Wilfork will get in pretty soon. I think Mike Vrabel should be in. Bruschi, as much as I love him, doesn't quite have the numbers. But Rodney Harrison is 1A on that list right now. He should be joining Ty Law in the Hall of Fame. That's all I got to say. We're pulling for you, Rodney. I know you need it. You need the support of the Cam Show, which, by the way, coming up, we're going to talk about how bad Netflix is and the best actors to be in really shitty movies. That's coming up on the Cam Show, powered by Rogue Media Sports Network. We are back in studio, both of us, Cam Show, Rogue Media Sports Network, and here is Braden Murray. That was better, by the way. That was a better accent.
You're getting better as the months
Murray.
go on. It's admirable.
Thank you. It's all this Olympics, you know. Australia and New Zealand are really overpowering the competition.
Not anymore.
Is there a sport that they're good at? Like,
they're good at swimming.
Oh, okay.
They almost beat us in swimming.
Really?
Yeah.
Almost beat the vaunted U.S.
But we have more golds than they do as of, well, I guess.
Hell yeah. Stick that in you, Joey, huh?
Yeah.
You like that? Like New Zealand's good at rugby.
Oh, rugby. Oh, sorry, New Zealand. Yeah, they're good at rugby.
I was thinking of both of them kind of as one, which I know you're not supposed to do.
Yeah, they
But
don't.
like,
They don't
what-
tend to like that.
Australia. They should be good at something. Why aren't they good at stuff? It's a big
Australia's good at
country.
swimming. Rugby's for New Zealand.
But like, can you imagine like a whole continent and the only thing you're good at is swimming?
Probably good at surfing.
Yeah, it's
Sailing.
unfair. Is that in the Olympics? Surfing?
Yeah.
Oh,
They're doing it in
I thought that was
Tahiti.
just an X Games thing. In Tahiti?
Mm-hmm.
How close is that?
I don't know.
This was almost the Boston Olympics, which I still can't believe. Like, where would they have done surfing? Beats me, mate. Foster's. Australian for beer.
They should
Anyway,
have it
this-
in Waco and do it at Waco Surf.
That would be unbelievable. Waco could host the Olympics. Summer.
Are there enough venues in Waco?
That's the thing. Everywhere you go now, for the exception of I guess Paris, which they are right now, you just make them.
Mm-hmm.
Rio, Athens, Sochi. Sochi, they just got rid of everybody. They got rid of all the dogs and the gays and built the place. So we could do better than that, I guess. Yeah.
Imagine the track finals at Clyde Hart.
Yeah, baby.
That'd be sick.
Yeah. Or you know, field sports at the old Cotton Palace
Yeah.
down by George's. Oof, that would have been tough.
We have an equestrian center here, too.
There's not many places that have that.
Yeah.
Not many places. Is cricket an Olympic sport? They can go down to,
I don't know.
where's not Cyprus, because that's where you're from.
Prairie View.
Prairie View has the biggest
Yeah.
cricket center in North America. Anyway, this segment isn't about the Olympics, weirdly. Although it sounds like you've caught up.
My parents have been a big Olympics.
That's what happened. So I was at my girlfriend's parents' house the last few days, and her dad is like way into the Olympics. And so every night we had no control over what to watch. It was just like the 3-hour NBC replay thing of the Olympics.
Yeah.
And he's not on social media, so he didn't get it spoiled for him. He was actually finding out at 11 p.m. these things that happened at 2:30. So I unfortunately watched a lot of that. I don't have anything against the Olympics. It just doesn't do a lot for me.
I mean, so my mom and dad are like that. They're super into the replays.
Sure.
My mom got rid of social media, I think, just so she could avoid the spoilers, which
Admirable.
it is admirable.
Admirable.
Like, I found out that Simone Biles won gold in the all-around at like 2 p.m. My mom had no clue.
Until later that day. That's
Yeah.
blissful ignorance, man.
Mhm.
What a life. And I found this with a lot of people I know. Like, I'm so into team sports that, like, it's just tough for me to get way into the Olympics. I'm not saying it's not impressive. And, like, I know Simone Biles, but I just, like, I don't care to watch gymnastics or even swimming.
I
Which
think
can be exciting. I'm not saying swimming can't be exciting.
I think that if I had like a regular TV, or like where I had NBC, I could just turn the TV on and turn on ABC, I would be more involved in these Olympics.
That's just like a thing to watch during the day.
Yeah,
It's just like something to happen.
but I don't even have.
Yeah.
I don't even have Peacock, so there's like no real way for me to watch the
Times, no.
Olympics.
Now, one thing I am going to get really excited for, and I'm not going to talk too much about it because I think we're going to have a full preview on Thursday, is the breakdancing.
Mm-hmm.
B-Boy Jeffro.
B-Boy
guy.
Jeffro, H-Town, stand up.
H-time, whole time.
My sister is
Yes.
also excited for breaking.
For Jeffro?
Not for Jeffro, but for the breakdancing.
That would be something
competition.
like, I'm sure B-Boy Jeffro did like go to middle schools and stuff. You know what I mean?
like
Just run some
anti-drug
breakdancing clinic.
campaigns.
Yeah, yeah. And it's like, he's even trying for the Olympics. And everyone in there who's none the wiser are just like,
Oh.
okay, yeah, sure. This guy who dances is going to be in the fucking
Yeah.
Olympics. And lo and behold, B-Boy Jeffro's going to have the last laugh when he comes back with a gold medal.
Mm-hmm.
A gold medal. Is wrestling in the Summer Olympics? Or is that the Winter Olympics?
Summer.
Do we know anything about that?
I haven't been keeping up with.
See, there we go. And I guess baseball's done? They don't do baseball anymore?
I don't think so.
They
I
did it
think
last time. What the hell?
I think that's next Olympics. So that's also when they're going to
alternate Olympics?
They're doing flag football next Olympics too.
I might get into that.
You
Because to
think?
me that is funny because it'll be people who are pretty good athletes, right? Obviously, they're in the Olympics. But like I have a sneaky feeling it's going to be people who like didn't play football.
Mm-hmm.
And they're going to be like, "No, you should take us like just as seriously as the NFL." It's like how all these people watch the NFL every week and who's watching flag football? It's like, no shit, dude. Like no one's watching that. I just think that's
well. I think the NFL has agreed to send some of their.
Are they really?
I
Did
think
I miss
so.
that?
I think they are. It's
Okay, then so
It's
will
gonna
it
be like Christian McCaffrey, Patrick Mahomes, and
that
Jamar
would be
Chase.
Insane. That would be insane. Because I was thinking you could even do a good one of like
College.
retired players.
Oh yeah.
Who are like still in good shape. Like Chad Ochocinco could definitely do flag football.
Mm-hmm.
You know, like I could see that. That is interesting. But if they just send the pros over there, that's almost not even fair. Like that's like the dream team in '92. Like that's not fair. Anyway, his segment's about Netflix. Weirdly enough, Braden, what was the last thing you watched on Netflix?
Seinfeld.
Okay. Do you remember the last Netflix original thing you watched?
Hitman with Glenn Powell.
How was that?
I liked it a lot.
Okay. That's a Netflix original?
Mm-hmm.
Good for them. Okay, so Seinfeld, that's a good answer.
Okay.
Good answer, Braden. Because I'm going to do this old man thing about Netflix a little bit. Netflix used to be, and this makes me feel old, because Netflix used to be a great streaming service. It was the best. And not that long ago, like I was still in college, it was number one. And what you could do, Braden, this is crazy, is you would watch a great show like Seinfeld, get all the way through it, and then there would be another great show to watch.
Okay.
Which is not the case anymore. It's just not. I mean, once you're done with Seinfeld, you're going to be searching for months to find something else that's worth watching on Netflix, worth watching the whole series. And they used to just have banked friggin' series. Office, Friends, New Girl, Parks and Rec. Like,
Yeah.
I'm not saying these are the greatest shows ever made. The Office is a really good one. But you could at least go like, oh, I've heard good things about that show, instead of it just being all originals. So I was watching this 3-part series about boy bands. And Lou Pearlman, the manager who started all these boy bands, Backstreet Boys, NSYNC, you might have heard of them.
I have heard of those bands, yes.
Yeah. And it's like, it's not really interesting. It's the second Netflix series I've watched in like 2 months that I've been like, what's the problem here?
Oh, wait, I lied to you. Sorry. The last thing I watched on Netflix was their Receivers. First episode of the Receivers series.
The quarterback sequel.
I like the
That's not
quarterbacks.
Receivers.
Quarterbacks was good.
Not
I haven't
big on
finished.
Receivers?
I haven't finished Receivers.
Oh. Who do they have? Justin Jefferson and
Justin Jefferson, Amon-Ra St. Brown, Debo Samuel, and Devontae Adams, George Kittle.
George Kittle is more like a tight end.
He is a tight end.
I guess he receives passes.
That is true.
That makes sense.
But at that point, put in like Alvin Kamara because he catches passes.
Why
too.
not? Yeah.
Yeah.
The fridge, Walter Perry. What's he doing these days?
Laquan McGowan. Where's he at?
Yeah, Mike Vrabel. So I'm watching this documentary, and there is a problem here. So the guy, he creates these boy bands. Like literally, he was big into like private jets or blimps or something, made a lot of money, and starts putting together these boy bands. NSYNC and Backstreet Boys being the two biggest. And both of them had legal troubles with this guy, Lou Pearlman, because he was taking too much of their money. And they both had like one album that was big with Lou Pearlman. He gave them their start. They had a big album. Lou took too much of their money. They sued him, and they went on to have success outside of Lou Pearlman. And so I'm like, okay, so he took too much money from these kids, but like, you know this, Braden, like there are infamous duels between record labels, managers, and talent that go on for years and defraud them of like a lot of money.
Yeah.
Like the Stone Roses, one of my favorite bands of all time, their career was ruined because of because of a dispute with their record label. And like people like who was it? Kesha recently was like abused by
her producer,
her producer and withheld a lot of money.
Well, and, you know, Britney Spears wasn't with her label, but still a similar
good example.
Yeah.
We're talking decades.
Mm-hmm.
And these guys, they had, you know, like one album that did pretty well, and they didn't make enough money off it. They sued the guy, got a great settlement out of it, and went on to other success. So I'm like, okay, I don't feel that bad. I'm thinking, oh my God, is this guy going to be like abusive to them or something? And that never comes up. But there's one point in the second episode where, again, we're like halfway through this 3-part series, and they start talking about this guy's sexuality.
Oh.
And he's a big fat guy, you know, middle-aged when he's signing all these guys. And he's got, you know, like teenage boys and guys in their young 20s. And I'm like, oh my God, he was a pedophile. Like, he must have been a pedophile. That must be why they're talking about this. And they get to, like, they're interviewing, like, all their subjects are commenting on this, right? One of them's like, I think he's asexual. I've never seen him with a woman or a man. This girl that was supposed to be his girlfriend, she was like, yeah, we never had sex or anything. And I'm like, oh my God, here it comes. And they get to one of the guys in the boy band, and he's like, look, he didn't do anything to me, but I don't know, he seemed shady. And like, that's all he said. And they flipped to another guy who was also in one of the boy bands. He was like, I lived with Lou Pearlman for 7 years. I never saw anybody stay the night, including band members. And then they kind of just go on with it. And I'm like,
oh.
So this guy wasn't a pedophile.
It's a big old nothing.
They just throw in 5 or 6 minutes of this documentary to be like,
what if he was?
Yeah, that's exactly it. What if he was a pedophile? That would be really bad because he was around these boys. I'm like, okay, but he wasn't. You know, you have all the boy band people here who are talking shit about him. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Like
is he dead?
In other things, yes, he's
okay.
dead. And that's the thing. They have like nothing to lose at this point. The guy's dead. They're already like defaming him, whether right or wrong. If he was a pedophile, someone would have said he was a pedophile.
Yeah, that probably would have come out earlier.
And they just like, I'm like, what is this? Why is this happening? That's such like a Netflix. We've got to put some drama in.
Oh,
there.
keep him yeah.
We got to keep him going.
Keep that engagement rate up.
And I was just like, I had to pause it. I was like, is this guy a pedophile? Like, I don't think he is. And they're like playing it up, like he's got this big mansion in Florida. You know, kind of remote. I'm like, is this supposed to be like a Jeff Epstein thing? Because, like, again, we have nothing to prove that he's a pedophile. It was so, and like that's almost an epitome of what Netflix is with like trying to make their own original series. They have to throw something in there, even though it doesn't really do much. It's like, so he wasn't a pedophile. He was just a bad guy in other ways. That's okay, right?
Yeah.
He can be a bad guy that defrauds these young people. And the other thing I watched, which, look, I was high. I don't know why I watched it anyway, but I might give it another shot. It's this new series called A Good Girl's Guide to Murder. You might have seen it on the top 10. And it also brought up a microcosm of Netflix original series, which is this girl is in high school in England. She's trying to solve a murder case that happened in her town that they think was already solved. Okay, I'll get quick with it, but she's like 16 years old and starts asking these people about this murder that happened 5 years ago. She like stalks a guy whose brother admitted to the murder and then killed himself, and she like stalks the guy and then starts asking him questions about the murder, and he was like, "Fuck off! Like, you don't." I know she's a kid, but at 16, you know that that's not like what you do. You don't just start asking people who are 5 years older than you about murders that happened in high school. Like that's fucked up. And she starts like openly defying all her friends and like doing shit even though they tell her not to. And I'm like, she sucks. Like this character sucks. She's totally unlikable. She's being a bitch to her friends, not like an authority figure. it to her friends, and to top it all off, she's completely uninteresting. And that's what Netflix has really hit. Like they have hit the nail on the head with their original series. Uninteresting characters that you don't root for.
Did you watch Outer Banks?
I did.
Okay. Did you?
Probably all of it.
Are you caught up? Okay, you are.
When did the last one come out?
I don't know. I stopped watching season 2.
I think I watched 3 seasons of it. So if there was
Okay.
a 4th, maybe I didn't.
I think there's 3.
Which, by the way, I'll give Outer Banks some credit. They did a good job because that show sucks.
It does suck. It is not a
The
good
writing
show.
is terrible. The acting
Is meh.
is even worse.
Yeah.
But they do just enough right.
Mm-hmm.
They do the cliffhangers just right. They do like the setting just right. That I was like, screw it. Like, it sucks, but I'll keep watching it. Whatever. What was your verdict on it? Did you keep? So you said you.
I saw
when
all
did
the
it
first
okay.
season during the
Okay.
lockdown.
Yeah, that was like kind of the end of the pandemic.
It was early in the pandemic.
Was it?
Yeah.
I was thinking it was like 21. Okay, fine.
It was like the same time
I'll
as
take your
Tiger
word for
King.
it.
Remember Tiger King?
Yes. Which again, that Tiger King is a great example of just right place, right time.
Yeah.
Was it a good doctor? It was fine.
Yeah.
It was interesting.
Tiger
But
King.
it became massive. It became one of the biggest documentaries ever made.
I think I watched around that time.
Because
like
the week it came out.
the Epstein documentary came out around
Uh-huh.
that time too. And then Outer Banks came out. Outer Banks,
It's
I think
not,
it's bad.
It's not good.
it's not very good, no.
And it went way over the top towards the end, if I remember correctly. The whole thing was a little over
Armando
the top.
Baycott
Right?
was in the show, right?
Was he?
I'm pretty sure he was.
Maybe I missed that part. Maybe I didn't stop after 2 seasons. Like, I think there's one where, spoiler alert, they, like at the end of, it must have been season 2, they like escape on the boat, the 2 kids, and like in a bad hurricane.
That was season 1. That was the end of season 1.
And they just like magically live. And I'm like, that's not possible. Like, that's, even your dumbest viewer cannot think that they lived through that. That was insane.
Sarah and John B. That pissed me off, actually. I wanted them to die.
They should.
It would have made more sense if they had died, but they
should've
magically survived.
And
boat crashing.
the other kids could pick up the pieces and find the treasure.
Yeah.
That could have been good suggestion, Braden Murray. That could have been a better series, but Netflix can't do that, man.
No, they can't let.
Which makes
Their
me think of
stars.
great actors in shitty movies. You ever thought about that,
That
Braden?
was a bit of a leap, but okay.
Have you ever thought about that?
A little bit.
It came up because one of the podcasts I listened to, the producer didn't know who Bob Newhart was, and he thought it was Paul Newman for some reason, and the only thing he had seen Paul Newman in was the voice in Cars.
Paul Newman was in Cars?
Yeah, exactly. He was. I
Was
guess
he Doc?
the old. Huh?
Was he Doc? He
was
was
that the old one?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, I
Yeah.
didn't know that.
I haven't seen Cars since I was a kid, which is a fine movie. I'm not saying that's a shitty movie, but that's so funny that you know Paul Newman from that, or like that Michael Scott quote where he's like Woody Allen's one of his big inspirations, but he's only seen him in Ants.
I've only seen Woody Allen and Ants.
No, come on. I mean,
And I guess I've only seen Paul Newman in Cars.
no way.
I guess so.
Butch Cassidy and the Sundance Kid,
Mm-mm.
The Sting,
Nope.
The Verdict,
Nope. Just Cars.
Slapshot.
No.
Oh, good Lord. Braden, you're part of the problem. I hate to break it to you. You're part of the problem here.
And the salad dressing.
That's okay to know him from that. That was massive. But,
Mm-hmm.
oh.
I know he's in the
one of
color.
10 best actors who ever lived.
I know he's in the
Julian
Color
Luke.
of Money. I just haven't seen Color of
Yeah.
Money yet.
Braden. We got to get you on that.
He's got good style too.
All right, so when I he does. Yeah, always did. When I pose that to you, great actors in shitty movies, what's the first one you think of?
De Niro and most of his recent stuff.
That's fair. The Irishman? Yeah.
No, not. That's besides The Irishman and Killers of the Flower Moon.
The War with Grandpa?
Yeah.
Is that one of them? Yeah. That's bad. Meet the Fockers was the first one of those. that
Oh,
he
what was the one
really
he
did.
did with Zac Efron? It has Aubrey Plaza in it. I don't remember.
Yeah.
Wedding, something like that.
Sounds shitty.
It was bad.
Sounds shitty. I would put The Irishman in there. I've watched it twice now. I
can't
still don't
get-
like the
yeah.
movie, man.
I need to rewatch that, I think.
People, because I heard if you watch it a second time, it's a lot better. And I did, and I was like, I slogged 3.5 hours of my life again for this.
And I have no problem with 3.5 hour movies.
When they're good, Killers of the Flower Moon.
Was 3.5. Yeah,
I've
exactly.
seen it twice.
Yeah.
Great fucking movie, man. God, great movie. The first one I think of is Al Pacino
Mm-hmm.
in the Adam Sandler film
Yeah.
and Jill.
Jack and Jill.
by Dunkachino. That I can never get over it. Like, I know he kind of knows going in. Well, I thought he knew going in that, it's a Sandler movie. It's not going to be taken very seriously. But I guess he was pissed at the end, much like his character in the movie was, that it sucked so bad. He was like, oh my God. That's what I'm fascinated by.
He didn't,
Is shitty movies, like at any level, big budget or not, a lot of the times actors don't know how bad it's going to be.
I've wondered about that.
Like, I would love to get some people on who were actors in shitty movies to ask them about that. Because, with like Birdemic, Shock and Terror,
Yeah.
you might not know. You don't think it's going to be great, but you don't know a lot until it's put together. But like Al Pacino, like you didn't know that was going to suck. You were filming this. You were on
You
set.
read
You
the
didn't know it was
script.
going to suck, right? Like,
Yeah.
I think that if I can, I gotta work on that. We gotta get some people like that on the show.
We gotta get
Like
Al Pacino on the
yeah,
show.
Yeah, that would be hilarious if we landed Al Pacino and only asked him about Jack and Jill.
Yeah.
That would be fucking great. So, what was it like working with Sandler? What about Woman Sandler? How was that?
Yeah.
I think that could be a great one. But I think we kind of hit the top two right off the bat.
I was thinking about this on the drive over. I guess you could say Adam Sandler's in this category too. Because you have, Uncut.
but he's made
You
so
know
many
he's a
shitty
good.
movies.
You know he's a good actor.
Yeah, no, that's fair.
Uncut Gems, Hustle. That's what I've seen him in when he's good. But
Yep. Punch Drunk Love. He was pretty good in as a drama too. But yeah, he's made so many shitty ones though.
Mm.
Like I'm thinking like Dustin Hoffman and Ishtar.
I was thinking Dustin Hoffman was
Who like is, and he is like so selective with his work too. Like I really wish, like, would it be so hard for us to have had like Daniel Day-Lewis? And
my
Cats or
Dustin
something?
Hoffman. My Dustin Hoffman was Mr. Megorium's Wonder Emporium.
That's a good pick.
Did you see that movie?
I've never seen it.
Yeah, it's got
I've
him.
heard it's pretty bad.
Him, Natalie Portman,
Oh God.
and some random kids in it.
Golly.
Yeah, that movie's
That
bad.
last movie that Gene Hackman was in, I don't remember what it was. We talked about it a few weeks ago with Zach. But I just marvel at that. I think there's something more we could do there. Like a Mount Rushmore of great actors in shitty movies. or something
Yeah.
like that. Like a Hall of Fame or Snake Draft or something. I think that could be done. But I think De Niro has done an uncomfortable amount of those.
Yeah.
Like Pacino really only did that one, Jack and Jill.
Mm-hmm.
Like, how many movies has he been in since total? It's not a lot in the 13 years since that came out. But De Niro has done now like 4 or 5 of those. That's unsettling.
Yeah.
Speaking of cinema, and we'll kind of wrap it up here, but I heard Vince Vaughn make a really good point about movies yesterday. It was on Hot Ones. I don't know when he was on Hot Ones. It was somewhat recently, but I heard the point yesterday. And they were talking about his movies. You a Vince Vaughn guy?
I've seen his Santa Claus one. Fred Claus?
Oh, jeez. Not like old school or
I guess not.
Swingers?
No. I've seen Fred
Wedding
Claus.
Crashers?
No, I've seen Fred
No.
Claus.
Fucking Christ, man. You are the subject of this. I know you've seen good movies, Braden. What the hell? Anyway, he was in a string of good R-rated comedies in the 2000s. And so they asked him about that because those movies aren't being made anymore. And he was like, yeah, you can't make them anymore. And he's right. But I thought he was going to go into some Jerry Seinfeld thing of like, oh, you can't do comedy the same. Which, albeit true, is a little dated at this point. It sucks to hear. But he didn't. He made a really good point. he was talking about how movies are all IP now.
Okay.
You know, Barbie, Marvel, DC, all of that, or remakes. It's got to be something you already know. Star Wars. And he said, but when I was growing up, I was a big fan of John Hughes movies.
Oh,
I know
okay.
you've seen John Hughes movies.
Yeah, I love John Hughes movies.
Good. Breakfast Club, 16 Candles, Ferris Bueller, that kind of thing.
Home Alone.
And yeah, and he said what the difference is now is John Hughes had IP, but it wasn't a brand that you knew, and it was an experience you knew. 16 Candles. Every girl turns 16 and has, drama in their high school life.
Mm-hmm.
Ferris Bueller's Day Off. Everyone cuts class at some point. Home Alone. Just the idea of being home alone and what you would do as a kid. You know what I mean? Like, that's an IP in terms of it's very relatable. It's relatable to the masses. It's not Batman, but it's relatable to the masses, and so we can all get behind a movie like that. Instead, now, his example was you're making fucking Battleship because it's a game you played as a kid. Like, that's ridiculous. Or, Barbie or the Marvel movies. And while some of them are good, it's like, enough. Like, we get it. You're going to put something out there that we already know about, and you're going to make billions at the box office. And it's probably not even going to be that good. I think you're more of a superhero movie guy than I am.
Battleship has Tim Riggins in it, though. So
Taylor Kitsch's short-lived movie career.
Yeah.
It was, no one fumbled more than he did, to use a Tim Riggins thing, with that. And what was the other one? John Carter.
Oh, yes.
And he was in...
That was the same year, I'm pretty sure.
Yes. Yeah, it was. And it was right as Friday Night Lights ended.
It was ending. Yeah.
And he was also in... was one of the... Lone Survivor. He was in Lone Survivor.
Oh, gosh.
Which is a fine movie.
That's the one I haven't... to be honest, I haven't seen any of those movies, but I knew because they're all bad, I've heard.
Yeah. Battleship was like Rihanna. And
Rihanna... Jesse Plemons was in that.
Oh,
he escaped that unscathed.
Yeah. Good actor. But like that was his whole point was like now you're just grasping at anything to be an IP. But,
the Prince of Persia movie with
but back in the day, you just had an idea that was IP because we've all been through it, experience, like going to detention.
Do you have
surprisingly very good point by Vince Vaughn.
Do you have interest in Deadpool and Wolverine?
No.
I didn't either, but I saw it this weekend and I thought it was pretty good.
I haven't seen any of the Deadpools.
Neither had I, but I like Hugh Jackman.
People say that is something that, like, because I have never been like a big superhero movie guy, really since this whole Marvel thing took over. But people have said like, this one's different. You'll like it, but I still haven't seen it.
There's
the Batman's,
okay,
and the first Iron Man.
The Batman's is in like the Pattinson.
Good point. No, good point.
You haven't seen that one, or you didn't like it?
Batman's. I haven't seen any of the Pattinson ones.
Okay.
So.
The Pattinson one is good.
Okay. I respect Batman because he doesn't have superpowers.
Oh, okay.
His superpower is elegance. His superpower is being a rich kid.
There's one IP
which I can definitely relate to.
I'm looking forward to the new Alien movie, Alien Romulus.
See, that's going back into the bad point.
But I'm looking forward to it because I think it looks good. And it's got Kaylee Spaney in it.
I don't know who that is.
She played Priscilla Presley.
I didn't see that movie either.
I didn't either. She was in Civil War.
Is that one of the Marvel ones?
No, Civil War is an A24.
Is it about the War of Northern Aggression or?
It's as if like, what if Civil War happened now? Civil War 2.
Oh, that's the one that just came out.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Yeah, was there a Marvel one called Civil War?
Captain America: Civil War.
Gotcha. This is the one with Jesse Plemons.
Yeah.
I've heard that one's good. Red told me that one.
I enjoyed it a lot.
Okay. I respect Red's opinion. I respect yours on a lower level. After hearing about the movies you haven't seen, I have to demerit you a little bit, Braden. I'm sorry. Anyway, all that to say, Netflix sucks. Really fresh take. Netflix ain't what it used to be, man.
Real hot take.
And so I'm probably gonna slog through watching this stupid show. After finishing the boy band documentary, just a couple edibles, get through it. But it hits all the greatest hits now.
Oh, the one about Waco was bad. They did a Waco documentary.
Yeah,
It was
I
bad.
watched the first episode of it.
It was bad.
It stunk. You know who was in a live action?
That one
remake?
was good. It was
was
Tim
Taylor
Riggins.
Kish, man.
I watched that all in
was
one
David
night.
Koresh.
I had the flu and I felt
It
horrible.
all comes back to Taylor Kish.
All
I
Taylor
did get
Kish.
a Tim Riggins Dylan Panthers jersey gifted to me
That's
last weekend
sick.
at the wedding I was officiating.
I think you should wear it
Because
next show.
I could wear it. I could bring it in. It's a little big, but I could wear it. The guy
Texas
who got married
forever.
and we watched Friday Night Lights in high school, so
Hey.
that's where it came from.
Hey, clear eyes, full hearts.
That did come up in the.
Are you gonna say it?
It did come up in the officiating of the wedding.
Are you gonna say it? Clear eyes, full hearts.
Wins a lot.
No, it's can't lose.
Oh, that's it. That's it. Yeah, that did come up in the wedding with clear eyes and full heart.
Texas forever.
Texas for now, anyway. That's Braden Murray, Cam Stewart. Cam Show brought to you by Rogue Media Sports Network. We'll be back with you tomorrow.
We are Rogue Media Sports.